one day somebody does something unspeakable to someone else, to someone you hardly knew, and you do something about it, because you can.
Here's a story about our president, Donald Trump. Now, I'm not taking a political stand here. I'm just giving you a news story. If you disagree with what I'm saying or you get upset, put it in the comments section, guys. Let's discuss this as adults, okay? Don't go, well, you just lost a subscriber. Why? Because I'm giving you information. But if you agree with me as well, let's talk about it in the comments. So again, I'm not taking sides on this. I'm just giving you a story that I found. I thought it was kind of interesting. Found it kind of interesting, especially because it does deal with the United States of America, and I want to give it to you. Now, this story is brought to us from the Financial Review. Around noon on April 14th, that was Monday, America ceased to have a law-abiding government. Some would argue that that had already happened on January 20th when Donald Trump was inaugurated. But on this Monday, however, Trump chose to ignore a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling to repatriate an illegally deported man. He even claimed the judges ruled in his favor. The U.S. president's middle finger to the court was echoed by his Attorney General, Secretary of State, Vice President, and El Salvador's vigilante president, Nayib Bukele. The latter, that's Bukele, is playing host to what resembles an embryonic U.S. gulag. In terms of clarifying moments, Trump's meeting with Bukele compares with his dressing down of Ukraine's Vladimir Zelensky in late February. Zelensky was berated for being insufficiently thankful for U.S. military aid and for failing to wear a suit. A tieless Bukele, by contrast, got royal treatment. Trump's team nodded when Bukele said he would not consider returning the wrongly deported Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. All baselessly agreed that Garcia was, in fact, a terrorist. The Oval Office drama offered a civics lesson to the world. America's government pays greater respect to a foreign strongman than its own Supreme Court. Trump knows how to deliver gripping television. He was also making history. The official position of the world's oldest constitutional republic is that the courts should have no say in who its executive deports and on what grounds. Foreign travelers to the U.S. should be aware, or beware. Yeah, should beware. They can be detained without recourse. Americans should too. Trump casually told Bukele he may need to build more supermax jails for homegrown deportees, which means U.S. citizens. If Trump deems that you are a gang member, a pro-terrorist, or simply anti-national, he claims impunity over your liberty. The fact that one deportee was a hairdresser, not a gang member, and another target was an innocuous op-ed writing student, not a terrorist, is no protection. Trump's lawyers are barely even pretending to phone it in. Evidence can be withheld on national security grounds or seemingly invented, as it was on Monday with Garcia. A government lawyer who's conceded that Garcia's deportation was mistaken was placed on administrative leave. Whoa! He's like, you're out. You're out, says Darth Vader. Should the wrong person be deported in shackles, the U.S. can do nothing about it. That would interfere with another country's sovereignty, so they say. This is from the same administration that is demanding other countries' territory. El Salvador is as sovereign as Trump chooses it to be. Bukele is Trump's hemispheric sidekick. That the White House will not release details about its Bukele prison contract is also informative. Grift and authoritarianism go hand in hand. America's busiest expos nowadays are those specializing in border security, drones, and paramilitary gear. El Salvador is now a hotspot of shadowy vigilantism. In that respect, the U.S.-El Salvador relationship is threatening to become two-way. Among those angling for deportation contracts are Eric Prince, the former chief executive of the mercenary group Blackwater. You've heard of them. The portents are also grim for U.S. investors. On Monday, Morgan Stanley's research arm warned that they should be prepared to be fooled many more times. Analysts were referring to Trump's constantly shifting rationale for tariffs, but their point, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, also describes the U.S. rule of law. Trump has pardoned several fraudsters and embezzlers who have contributed money to his campaign or just spoken well of him. He has also suspended a law that requires an entity's true owner to be named and another that penalizes U.S. companies for foreign bribery. Now he is unleashing the investigative dogs on critics. The latest targets include a former federal official, Chris Krebs, for having falsely denied that the 2020 election was rigged and stolen. The media is also in his sights. On Sunday, Trump issued a torrent of threats against CBS for running interviews critical of him. He called on Brendan Carr, chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, to revoke the network's broadcast license. The 60 Minutes interview that angered Trump was with Zelensky. Ukraine's leader said that Russian narratives are prevailing in the U.S. That was a fair point, given Trump's reversal of culpability for Russia's Ukraine invasion. But Zelensky's observation can be applied more widely. In Russia, dissent can cost critics their business license, liberty, and even their lives. It seems a matter of time before other less besieged Western legal systems hear petitions by U.S. citizens for asylum. So, I don't know. This might require a lot. Well, it's going to require a lot more research, of course, to look into. But it almost sounds like, look, if you criticize the U.S. president, or if you even give anti-patriotic sentiment, bye-bye, you're going south of the border. Down to El Salvador, or San Salvador, or somewhere like that, right? Chile. Remember Chile, 1973? Remember that one? That wasn't the president, was it? No, that was more the CIA, I think, even though they denied involvement. But I digress. This is becoming more like Cuba than the United States of America, I would think. What do you all think? I'm just posing questions here, but does it sound like this is kind of becoming more like Cuba? Because in Cuba, if you spoke against the government, Fidel Castro would have you imprisoned. Or worse,